Mr. Singh, I want to begin by first asking you, you're joining us this Monday, August 19th, after a very, very long weekend. A weekend perhaps which is good for business. Was it good for business now that you've seen this war between the aggregators and NRAI with this entire call to detox from each other?
Yes, we embraced and supported aggregators when they came in. Thought we could collaborate and work well together to build the industry and the future. But it's not tight. But over the last few months, we found that the direction of where some of the aggregators are going is actually making it very difficult for the restaurants to go forward and to survive. It's just not working for us. And we realized it was time to sort it out with some of the aggregators one way or the other. And that's what led to the Logout, our very clear and firm position, and our reluctance to move forward unless it's in a mutually beneficial manner.
A.D. Singh, if I go by what you have personally stated, I'm reading it out here, restaurants have already suffered due to increasing rentals and denial of input tax credit, that's of course with GST, and cannot run businesses where the focus is shifting to who is offering 50% off. Did A.D. Singh and the Olive Group of restaurants actually offer this 50% off, or was it also a case of these food aggregators who are funded, have cash to burn, that were offering it on your behalf? What I'm trying to understand is that were you ever kept in consultation for all of these discounts?
Yes, of course, nothing can happen in our restaurants with us supporting it and agreeing to it. When to name one aggregator, Zomato specifically, who we work with on many different platforms, when they introduced Zomato Gold, it had a particular intention and direction, but very quickly it became a platform offering great deals at the restaurants. We supported it because it drove customers in, but those were customers looking at a 50% deal. It didn't build any loyalty to the restaurant. And in fact, they didn't even experience the restaurant the right way. The margins on these customers was non-existent. So that whole relationship just didn't work for us. As restaurateurs, as an industry, our customers was critical to us, and our relationship with them is what we build to go forward. As you know, the Olive Group of restaurants, we worked very hard at trying to create great experiences for the customers coming in, and that's how we built our brands, that's how we built brand loyalty,
yes.
That's how we built regulars over the years.
But Mr. Singh, these are also...
This simple exercise of...
But Mr. Singh, what I want to also understand is obviously the boiling point, the turning point between what we're seeing, this war, if I could call it that, between the restaurants and the aggregators, is this plan of Zomato Infinity. That's how it's all come out to be. So if, I could lean on your expertise, your years of experience as a restaurateur, someone who's been credited for being ahead of the curve, is the fight only about Zomato Infinity? If Zomato were to do a U-turn to remove all of that, would it be business as usual? Because all of you have also entered into contracts with Zomato, right?
That's right. So the thing is that, number one, we also sort of trying to understand, we're learning as we go along, we're observing. And what shook me up also personally is, Zomato works very closely with our company on the delivery side. And we thought, great, we can try and build this base together. It's obviously what people are wanting. The delivery business is growing every year. And so we worked exclusively this year through Zomato on delivery. And now we're shocked to find that they're opening their own brand slowly, which leads to the future. What will happen? All the customers who like our brands, they have all the databases, and slowly they could divert all of them into their own brands. So that leaves a company like mine, which we've built over 18, 19 years with so much hard work, employing 1,700 people, great brands, totally at the mercy of a third party. And that's one thing that really shook me up. I believe that if companies want to work together, then they cannot be competing with us. And that itself was, to me, was point one.
But what are you referring to when you're saying building their own brands? Is it these cloud kitchens, for example? Is it the cloud kitchens, for example, that upset you? Because that also is being talked about as the future.
Yes, so you see, cloud kitchens is still fine because part of the business model was to create cloud kitchens and then subcontract them to all of us to open delivery kitchens at low capex cost. Nothing wrong with that model. We thought that part is fine. What wasn't right was the announcement that they will be opening their own brands as well. That's what worried us as far as the delivery market and their intentions go. Secondly, we find that though we are working closely together and it's meant to be something to build the restaurant industry and everybody should win, that the company was really making the decisions as per what suited them. Things were changing as per what suited them. And they were not in our interests at all. Zomato Infinity that you mentioned was just leading to huge wastage, customers coming gorging, throwing up in our restaurants. So though my group personally hadn't yet started off with that, but some of the other restaurateurs, part of the group, were sharing their experiences that were horrible. So in the end, we could see just that these seemed to be ways to drive people away from the restaurant experience that we've all worked so hard to create, to just looking for great deals.
Okay.
And that's not a direction that makes any sense for our industry.
Okay, so that's good to know that while it's an insight that we didn't have, that it's not just about Zomato Infinity, it's also about Zomato building its own brands. Swiggy, for example, is also doing that. It's announced its own brands, it's working on all of that. Which brings me to my next question, Mr. Singh. Is Zomato the worst off, or is it the only case which is the bad one? Are you okay, let's say, with an Easy Diner? Are you okay with a Gourmet Planet, etc.?
So at the moment, yes, for me personally in my group and for many, many of us restaurateurs, the main frustration is with Zomato Gold, number one. And at the moment, we've decided to log out from Zomato Gold in any way, form or shape. We think it's very counterproductive, as we've shared across posts and as I've shared earlier on this conversation. That's our number one frustration area at the moment. With the other aggregators, Easy Diner, Dine Out, Gourmet Passport, etc., the NRAI is actually in talks with them today. They've been very reasonable. Even so far, the programs that they've been offering are much more collaborative and mindful of us. We still have some issues, and we're all sitting on a table today and trying to work our way through there. We do believe that there's a future for the aggregators and for us, but we have to work together. It's got to be a win-win for both sides. Otherwise, now the restaurant industry is putting its foot down. It's not working for us.
Mr. Singh, I'm going to ask you a very cheeky question. I hope you'll allow me. So yesterday, Sunday evening, I did want to go to one of your restaurants, and I was trying to get a booking, and I did see that I could get one at Olive on Zomato Gold. Yes, that's a caveat. I have been a member. But you said you've logged out. Is that only effective from today? Because then I've also got to ask you that you basically logged off after the big busy weekend.
So to be honest, Nentara, I myself am fairly slow. And I wanted to spend time with NRII, the other managing committee. We had a long con call yesterday. And post that, I sent the mail around to all our teams to log out, to intimate Zomato, and move with that and wait on the other aggregators till the conversations today. So yes, possibly yesterday at lunchtime or even early evening, you might have found that. should be no longer.
But, is this also not perhaps what we saw in the case of taxi aggregators, when we saw all taxi stands and taxi drivers going on strike, but the cab aggregation was the way forward. Is this something which has to happen for everyone to survive together, what we're seeing right now between the food aggregators as well as the restaurateurs? Because can one survive without the other? To me, an answer would seem no.
So, Nayantara, the food industry has survived for all these years without the aggregators and will continue to survive. So it's wrong to say we can't survive without them. For most of them, all their business models are built on us doing everything. So for them, survival without our support, in my opinion, is difficult, and they need to understand that. Is there space for both of us going forward? For sure. But we have to work together. If any model is based on benefits only from the industry, no, it's not going to work anymore.
So AD Singh, how is this going to pan out? Zomato is, of course, funded. It's got big money behind it, as does its competitor Swiggy. So what can possibly be the middle ground? You can't now. Is it too late to tell Zomato and Swiggy that stop focusing on your brands, stop focusing on your kitchens, even if it were to roll back Zomato Infinity?
My feeling, Nayantara, is that the investors into all these companies are fairly prudent and are also looking at a long-term growth and the right strategy. And I think it's very important that there's a reasonableness on parts of the senior management of the aggregators to work with us. If they want to work unilaterally as what they see best, it's not going to work. And I'm very sure they see it, the investors see it as well. So this is, let's call this like a midterm correction, nothing wrong with it. It'll probably give them also much stronger founding to keep growing, and will give the investors and the community much more confidence in the long-term success of their model as well.
My last question to you, AD Singh. You've had one big weekend where a lot of the restaurateurs logged off. If you talk to the aggregators, they say it was not more than 300 restaurants. If you talk to the NRAI, it says 1,200 restaurants. And that's a really big difference, but we've seen restaurants logging off. Nevertheless, can the restaurants afford to continue to avoid aggregators? You have created an experienced brand, but can it continue? Because at the end of the day, you're always going to have outliers who will be ready to sign on to those discounts just to make sure that they continue to have walk-in customers.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's very important for the restaurant industry to be united. I myself, over the years, have grown to increasingly respect NRAI as really representing all of us the right way and for the long term. They're making a very big difference. And I think that more and more restaurants, these days they are, funnily enough, more and more joining us over this cause. And I'd say of the restaurant community, most of them should join the NRAI. It's really representing everybody very well and very fairly. So I think that that is critical for the industry. It's the only way we're going to be able to get what we want from all the outliers, all the aggregators, all the new companies that will even come in. And it's the only way that we're going to have the playing field we need going forward.
Have you deleted Zomato from your phone?
So we are not actually against any company, Nayantara. We are very specifically at the moment logging out from Zomato Gold. We're still working with Zomato on other platforms of theirs. And we're going to be talking to them soon and sharing our concerns, and let's see how they go. And hopefully all we want is a win-win for everybody. We're not in this to take anybody down.
With that, AD Singh, I'd like to thank you for joining us here, for taking the time out here on Startup Central. I know there's a big meeting with the Zomato team tomorrow. I hope I'll be able to track you down and get another interview with you on how things pan out after that. Thanks a lot for joining us here.